Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most intense and surprising moments in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. Reports that Ukraine has just sent 10 MiG-29 fighter jets directly toward the Kremlin, and what followed has stunned military analysts across the world. This is not just another airstrike or drone attack. It signals a bold new phase in Ukraine's war strategy and demonstrates how far their air force has evolved since the early days of the invasion. In recent months, Ukraine's air capabilities have been undergoing a massive transformation. The MiG-29s, once considered outdated compared to Russia's modern Su-35s and MiG-31s, have been upgraded with Western technology, new radar systems, and precision-guided weapons. These are not the same jets that Ukraine flew in 2022. Thanks to NATO assistance, these aircraft can now deploy advanced air-to-surface missiles, jam enemy radar, and perform coordinated electronic attacks. When news broke that 10 of them were seen heading in the direction of Moscow, alarms immediately went off in Russian air defense systems. What makes this move extraordinary is not just the number of aircraft, but the message it sent. Ukraine has never before launched such a concentrated air maneuver toward the heart of Russia's political and military control. For months, Russia believed its layered air defenses, the S-400 systems around Moscow, were impenetrable. But Ukraine's recent actions have shown that even the most secure skies can be challenged. As the MiG-29 crossed Russian radar lines, confusion erupted in Moscow's command centers. Fighter jets scrambled from nearby bases, and air defense batteries were activated across multiple regions. According to early intelligence, Ukraine's move was not a full-scale attack, but rather a daring psychological and tactical operation. The purpose was to test Russian air defense responses and force them to stretch their resources thin. By flying in coordinated formations at varying altitudes, the Ukrainian jets triggered multiple radar zones, confusing Russian interceptors. It's a clever tactic that NATO pilots have used for decades, forcing the enemy to respond everywhere, even if the real target lies somewhere else. But here's where things got even more interesting. As Russian fighters took off to intercept, Ukrainian drones simultaneously launched strikes across other strategic areas. Several oil depots and radar stations near Belgorod and Bryansk were hit, suggesting that the MiG-29 maneuver was part of a larger synchronized operation. While the jets grabbed attention near Moscow, the real damage was being done hundreds of kilometers away. It was a masterclass in deception, showing how Ukraine has evolved from defensive survival tactics to offensive precision warfare. Eyewitnesses in Moscow reported seeing emergency sirens and anti-aircraft tracers lighting up the night sky. For the first time, many civilians in Russia's capital felt the immediate fear that Ukrainians have endured daily for almost 3 years. Russian media quickly tried to downplay the event, calling it a training response, and claiming that no Ukrainian aircraft breached Moscow's inner defense perimeter. But independent satellite and radar data told a different story. At least several of the MiG-29s came dangerously close to restricted airspace before turning back safely. What followed was a massive Russian counter-response. Within hours, long-range missile strikes were launched at airbases in western Ukraine, targeting what Moscow claimed were the launch points of the MiG operation. Explosions were reported near Lviv and Rivne, with some damage to hangars and fuel depots. Yet despite this retaliation, Ukraine's defense ministry celebrated the maneuver as a success. The message was clear: Ukraine is no longer just defending its skies, it's taking the fight to Russia's doorstep. Military analysts around the world immediately began dissecting the operation. Many pointed out that Ukraine's ability to coordinate such a high-risk mission proves that Western training and equipment integration have reached new heights. The MiG-29s, though Soviet-designed, have been transformed into hybrid platforms using NATO technology. Even the communication systems have been upgraded to link with Western satellites and AWACS aircraft. In simple terms, these Ukrainian pilots are flying Soviet jets with Western brains, a combination that's proving highly unpredictable for Russian radar systems. The psychological impact on Russia cannot be underestimated. For decades, Moscow's defense doctrine has been built on the idea that the capital is untouchable. Every Russian leader since the Cold War has maintained a no-fly shield image around the Kremlin. But this Ukrainian move shattered that perception. It showed that distance and defense systems no longer guarantee safety, especially when facing an opponent that uses creativity, precision, and Western-backed intelligence to strike where it hurts most. Meanwhile, inside Ukraine, this bold operation has boosted national morale tremendously. Images of MiG-29 pilots preparing for their mission have gone viral, with citizens calling them heroes who dared to challenge the impossible. It's also strengthened Ukraine's case for receiving F-16 fighter jets sooner. Western officials, particularly in the U.S. and Netherlands, have already confirmed that Ukrainian pilots are finishing their F-16 training, and operations like this prove they are more than ready for advanced aircraft. Some experts believe this maneuver was a test run for integrating future F-16 squadrons into Ukraine's Air Force. The MiG-29s acted as a symbolic bridge between the old and new Soviet design meeting Western strategy. If Ukraine can pull off this level of coordination with older jets, imagine what they could do once the F-16s arrive. The battlefield dynamics could change dramatically, especially in deep strike operations against Russian command and logistics hubs. However, such bold moves also carry enormous risks. Every time Ukraine pushes closer to Moscow, it raises the stakes of escalation. Russia has already issued warnings claiming that any direct strike on the capital could trigger unpredictable consequences. But despite the threats, Ukraine's leadership has made it clear that no target is off limits as long as Russian missiles continue to rain down on Ukrainian cities. It's a dangerous game of deterrence, one that could determine the next phase of this war. In the end, the 10 MiG-29s may not have fired a single missile at the Kremlin, but their mission accomplished something far greater. It sent a message of defiance, skill, and strategic brilliance. It reminded the world that Ukraine is not the same country it was when this war began. It has evolved into a capable, confident military power, willing to take bold actions to defend its future. As analysts continue to study radar data and satellite images, one thing is certain: this operation will be remembered as one of the most daring air maneuvers in modern warfare. It's a symbol of Ukraine's determination and innovation under pressure. The skies over Eastern Europe are changing, and the message to Moscow is loud and clear. No fortress is impenetrable. So, what happens next? That depends on how Russia reacts and how far Ukraine is willing to push its newfound air capabilities. But one thing's for sure: this conflict has entered a new phase where every move is strategic, psychological, and global in its impact. Ukraine just proved that courage, technology, and intelligence can sometimes outfly even the most powerful defenses. And the world is watching every moment.